Hey, Kevin.
All right, give me a wave if you can hear me. Woohoo! All right, thank you very much. Glad to see everybody. Sorry I'm running a little bit late. I just had to have a spirited argument with my teenage daughter. I hope some of you know what that's like, or maybe you were a teenager at one point and you remember doing that. Lots of fun. So it's pitch practice. It's Good Friday. We're going to roll through this just like we do every Friday. And I've got a couple of slides here for those of you who have not been here with us for the virtual version of pitch practice. Here's how we have worked in the past few weeks, and it's worked pretty well. And we're still making minor adjustments. I think somewhere you can notice there's a little button somewhere that says it's being recorded. There you go. If you look at the participants, you can see Atlanta Tech Village is the host and it's being recorded. So last week's did not get recorded, but this week's we are recording. And the week before, when we were on Google Hangouts, I managed to get a hack recording of that. So we got a couple of them, and we'll keep recording them from now on. Now that we got that straightened out. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to walk through here and ask everybody to just say their name and where you're from, where you are right now. Oh, like I'm in Roswell. Where are you physically? And then when you're pitching, I'll ask you to turn on your camera. It's probably good for Wi-Fi or wherever you're on to turn off your camera otherwise, and then mute if you're unless you're pitching. And if you want to ask a question at any time, not during anybody's pitch, but if you want to ask a question, just unmute and ask. And yeah, we'll talk over each other a few times, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. And like I said, yes, it is being recorded at this time. So let's give a roll call here. I'm Kevin. I'm calling from Roswell, my home office today. And if you happen to hear a dog, that's mine. He's usually pretty chill, but when his girlfriend from next door comes over, he goes a little nuts. So the next person I see on the line is Charlie Paparelli. Charlie, welcome.
Hey, thanks. This is Charlie Paparelli. I'm an angel investor, and I am calling from my home in Vinings. Can you hear me?
There we go.
Did you hear me?
I can.
But you didn't hear what I said?
Yeah, I heard. This is Trellis. I heard. I don't know,
Okay,
Kevin,
good.
if you didn't hear it. Yeah.
All right. I didn't hear
Charlie,
you.
when I said good to hear your voice, it's because I haven't spoken to you in a while.
Yeah, but then I said, oh, okay, good. Go ahead.
All good, all good.
Sorry.
Next on the list, as on my list anyway, that I see is Ashley Richardson. Ashley, how are you? Where are you calling from?
Hi guys, it's Ashley. I'm calling from West Midtown right now, actually.
Very good. Nice to have you again. Bobby Gilbert, how are you? You're muted.
Hey, Kevin, I'm calling from Marietta.
Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. Brandon, how are you? Where are you calling from? Brandon, I think there's an issue with your voice over your microphone or something. We got some funky computer looking noises. So maybe give that a try in just a second. I'll come back to you. Casey, so you're joining us. Are you still in Nashville?
Yes, I am. Yeah, Casey Correnti from my home in Nashville, Tennessee.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us from out of state. We appreciate it.
Yep.
And now I see Trellis. Are you with us, Trellis?
I am. Hey, Kevin. Hey, everybody. This is Trellis, and I'm dialing in from Brookhaven.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And is there somebody else named Kevin on the call? Okay, I guess not. Yeah, maybe that was my other, I had joined from my phone as well, so I could see what I was making sure my screen sharing was working because I had some issues with it. So, all right, for those of you who have not heard this or haven't heard it in a while, pitch practice, we started this, it'll be 7 years in June, so we're almost to that 7-year point. And a little way into that, we came up with this structure of forming your pitch. It starts your name, your company, the problem you solve, who's the customer who has the problem, what is your solution to the problem, and what do you need? What are you asking for as a startup? So I've called it a formula before, and that's not accurate. It's a structure. If it were a formula, you'd have to put in the input exactly, and that's not necessary. You can do this in any order you want, and with an emphasis on anything you want. But I'll walk through these real quick. Your name, usually I just say my first name, because even though my last name is not
Hey,
a,
Kevin, hey,
Yes.
Kevin, what you're sharing is not, it's not coming up the way you expect it to.
Huh.
I'm just, all I'm seeing is sort of you need to share the actual tab as opposed to sharing the whole screen.
Interesting. Let
Yeah,
me drop that, and then I'll start it again. Share screen. Now what do you see?
that's better. You
Okay.
got it.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. I
Okay.
think we're all a bit Zoom weary, as am I. I've been sharing so much, it beat me down. So thank you for pointing that out, Charlie. I appreciate it. So here's that better look at that. Your name, your company, your problem, the customer, solution, and your ask. Walk through these real quick. Your name should be simple, but like I was saying, I only share my first name when I'm up talking in front of a group, because my last name's not complicated, but the way I say it, sometimes, most of the time, people don't get it. And so they spell it wrong or can't say it right or whatever. So I just stick to my first name until I can hand them a business card or something like that. Your company, with a lot of mishmash names these days. So if it's something that's not spelled right or spelled normally, or has some weird sounds into it, maybe help to have a prop, wear a hat, wear a t-shirt, something like that. You're going to put all of your time and effort into the problem that you solve. That's the most important part. I'll come back to that after I go through the others. You got to know who your customer is. This is who pays you money. So we get some nonprofits in pitch practice. And even as a nonprofit, you have to have a customer focus. Somebody has to pay you money. And so you have to understand what their needs are and what problem you solve for them, and be able to say it in their words. So you got to know who your customer is, and understand that your customer may change, or probably will change, as you build your business. The greatest example I know about that is Amazon. They started off selling books to book readers. That was it. And now the breadth of their product offering is simply tremendous. So they nailed their model on focusing very, very clearly on one thing. And that's a recommended way to start a business. Nail one thing really, really, really well, so you can deliver it to your customers over and over and over, and then expand, but not till you've nailed that one thing. Your solution to that problem, whatever your problem that you're trying to solve, you have a solution to it. Don't go too deep here on your 30-second pitch. Don't go too deep, because the purpose of the 30-second pitch is to get the next meeting. And that next meeting is an optimal place to explain how you solve the problem. But in your 30-second pitch, you don't want to go too deep there. Just say what it is. Is it an app, a device, a service, a solution, a community, a website, whatever it is, software as a service, whatever the case may be. Just talk about that very lightly. If you do this really, really well, one of the best questions you'll get is, wow, how do you do that? And that's just a huge open door for the next meeting. So that's when you go deep into how you do it. And that's where some of your intellectual property or unique solutions can come out. Then ask for what you need. If you're a startup, you need something. At this point in time, in this economy, in this place where we are in our lives, that is going to be very, very, very important. Most of the time, a lot of the startups who come through pitch practice think they need money. Generally, they don't. They need help getting to their first 1 or 10 or 100 customers. And after that, they can build money themselves. The ones who, if you raise money, you're then subject to your investors, and that becomes a whole full-time job in and of itself. But ask for what you need. Ask for what you need today that'll help get you to next week. So back to that problem. You exist to solve a problem, and this comes from the TED Talk, Start With Why by Simon Sinek. The problem that you discover through your life, through your work experience or your life experience, you exist to solve that problem. And the most difficult thing that we face every week in pitch practice is having an entrepreneur explain the problem that they're solving. Usually, when I say usually, I mean like 90% of the time, when I ask what's the problem, the entrepreneur will explain what they do. And there's a very, very distinct line between what you do and the problem you solve. What you do is your product. The problem you solve is out there in the marketplace. So in speaking those words, because your words matter a lot, you want to be able to say what the problem is without talking about yourself. Because the problem is out there in the marketplace. You are the solution to the problem. The two are very, very separate. And so that problem it belongs to your potential customers. They have that problem and you are solving that problem for them, or attempting to anyway. So you want to make sure you nail your problem statement really early on, because that problem statement will translate very, very well into your 3-minute pitch or your 5-minute pitch or your investor deck or what have you. So that's where I want you to everybody to focus there. It's the hardest thing you'll do, but it's the most important. And throughout your pitch, whatever kind of pitch you deliver, whether it's 30 seconds or 3 minutes or 5 minutes or an investor, but you want to tell a story. You want to give us something that we can remember. And this TED Talk by Nancy Duarte really, really gets to the science behind telling a story. And there is a way to tell it, but everybody on this call, everybody who's ever been to pitch practice has a story. You do, whether you know it or not. And it's a matter of figuring out the best way to tell that story, and weave that story that your investors will remember, that your customers will remember, and that draws people in and helps them know who you are, and helps them understand why they should invest any time at all in you. So that's how we do it. I will time every pitch, and we'll just go back and forth for who's pitching. We'll listen to you, and then we'll offer you suggestions on how you might improve your pitch, because that's the whole reason we're here, is to make it better. Get you a little bit better on your pitch so you have a little bit better chance at success. So that said, I'll open up for any questions before we start listening to pitches. Does anyone have any questions?
Could you bring me to the outline again, the opening?
Sure. Or this one.
Yeah, no, that's the one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have a question about that, Charlie?
No, it's a little different than I remembered it. It seems like I don't remember you dropping the customer in there, which is it's really good, very valuable.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I wish I could come up with a timeline for when this actually was codified, but I don't know. I know it was sometime in the first couple of years of running pitch practice. But the customer is, if you don't know who your customer is, then you're going to struggle to go.
Yeah, the other thing with that too is
that's where customer discovery comes in. You have to learn. Okay. Any other questions?
whatever you said there sounded very computerish and wavy, like bad internet, just to let you know.
Yeah, that
Thank
was
you.
the same for me too.
Yeah, I'm going to turn my video off here because my Wi-Fi, for whatever reason, has been sketchy of late. So I apologize. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to turn off my video, and I'm going to ask for volunteers to pitch, and we'll hear your pitch. Again, I'll time it.
One other
And,
comment, just one more comment there,
Sure.
Kevin, is Charlie, is when we talk about customers, one of the things as an angel investor that always comes up is the customer is always defined as is too broadly as opposed to very, very narrow. You know, when you start, like you said, you have to be pointing.
Totally agree.
It's a rifle shot. It's not shotgun approach, you know. Everybody might need it, but you got to find the one person who needs it now, you know.
I totally agree, Charlie. I appreciate you bringing that up. One of the things that I've said often in pitch practice is to startups, I'll ask the question, how many customers do you have? And if they're really, really early stage, most people will say none. And I'll say, okay, well, how many do you need? And the answer to that question is one. You need one to get you started. And so if you got to identify one customer, you're right. It has to be hyper specific. And you have to know who exactly it is. And again, Amazon, the most valuable company in the world, started off with one customer, book readers. So I appreciate you bringing that up, Charlie. Okay, who is going to volunteer to pitch for us?
I'll go first, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
I've got to leave at around 12:30, so I thought I'd go first here. So, you ready for me?
I am. Go ahead.
All right. My name's Casey Carenti, and I'm the CEO and founder of Invoice Bright. The problem that we've identified is in B2B companies, accounts receivable. 10 to 15% of all B2B AR invoices go lost. That affects cash flow, that creates inefficiencies in AR departments and AP departments. And that's who our customers are. AP and AR departments of B2B companies. Initially, to be more shotgun approach, those using cloud accounting platforms. But our solution is that we track B2B invoices and provide current payment status from the payer's accounting system. So we know when an invoice has been lost, and we can tell you when it's been lost, and you can work on problem invoices sooner in the process rather than later, and once again, affect cash flow. Our ask is that very soon we're going to be looking for B2B companies to provide, sort of beta customers. And again, the value is improve your cash flow, make your AP and AR processes more efficient. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Casey. Quick question. How long do you think that was?
I'm going to say 40 seconds.
Okay. It's always longer. That was 1.5 minutes. It's always longer than you think.
No, that was not 1.5 minutes.
1 minute, 28 seconds. That's the joy of practicing.
Yeah.
You find out exactly what you can do.
Yeah.
So that's why we start. And just for those of you who have not heard the explanation, the 30-second rule is totally arbitrary. It's just a matter of having something against which you measure your own length of your words. I've heard brilliant pitches that were 13 seconds, and I've heard brilliant pitches that were almost 1 minute or more. So it's just a measurement. It's not a rule. It's not a hard and fast rule. The comfort level that you want to have there is if you were meeting somebody at some sort of networking event and they said, well, what do you do? And if you're still talking and they start looking at your watch, you're probably not doing very well because you've gone too long. So the idea is to get across in your elevator pitch, to get across your point really quick and succinct so that, again, the point of the elevator pitch is to get the next meeting if that's the right person you want to be meeting with. So I appreciate that. You have your first mark here, Casey. This is your first time on pitch practice, so we appreciate that. So now from the audience, who can tell me what the problem is that Casey's solving?
Digital invoices for B2B companies get lost.
I think you nailed it. Casey, can you go a little bit deeper? Define lost.
So loss can be several different things. Most probable, it just got to the company you sent it to, but then got stuck in a process somewhere. And once it gets stuck in a process, it's basically lost. Obviously, a lot of invoices just don't get to the right department, don't get to the right people to get approved. It used to be that when you sent that piece of paper, that was a paper invoice, it could go to the wrong company, wrong address, get lost in the mail. That obviously happens less and less. But yeah, 10% of invoices just don't get processed for whatever reason and become lost.
Casey?
Yeah.
How about a quick answer to that question is, a lost invoice is an invoice that never made it into the accounts payable system.
That's much better than what I just did. Thank you. Yes.
And that's why we have pitch practice in the audience so people can tell us better ways to say that. Good. Who can tell us how Casey solves the problem?
He integrates somehow into the customer accounts payable system, which I have no idea how he does that.
There you go. Casey, you win. Because the
That
next
is-
question is, how do you do that?
Yes, exactly. I don't know if you heard, I sort of tossed in there cloud accounting. We're building APIs to all the different cloud accounting platforms to pull out that information and share it with the sender. So that's how we're doing it.
When you say all the different cloud accounting platforms, how many are you targeting?
And when we go live, we'll have about 20. There are about 40 to 50 that are out there that eventually we'll have APIs for.
So you're going to try and keep up with 20 to 50 APIs?
It'll probably end up being closer to 75, but yes, we will do that. It's not going to be the easiest, but yeah, we will do that.
All right. So based on that, I think we know who his customer is. However, per what Charlie had mentioned earlier, do you have a more specific rifle shot audience in mind?
Yeah, I spent 10 years in the accounting outsource world, so I know that pretty well. Kevin, I think that's where you are now, incredibly. So I have a network of accounting outsource firms that they're going to jump on board with us early. And so we're thinking we're going to be able to get about 500 or so clients on board in a short period of time after we go beta, and then we'll just go from there.
All right. So your initial customer, the one who's going to pay you money, is this outsourced accountant?
Initially, I don't want to get into the money part, but yeah, they'll be initial clients. You know, for them to be able to be more efficient in how they run AP and AR for their clients, it'll be a big win.
Okay, so just to kind of narrow down on that answer, are those outsourced accounting firms going to pay you, or are they a distribution channel for you? Because there's a big difference.
Right, a distribution channel. In theory, they control whether they would pay us or their client would pay us. That's a conversation that we can have with them. Just like, you know, Bill.com, the accounting outsource firm can pay for Bill.com or have the client pay for Bill.com. It's a conversation.
Okay, so you haven't figured out the technical business model yet, but you think anyway, you know how you're going to get to your end users, and that's through the outsourced accountants, correct?
Initially, very initially, yes.
Okay, good. All right, good. Well, then now who can tell me what he asked for?
It went on so long, 1 minute and 28 seconds. Honest to God, I kind of zoned out. That's just some feedback, okay? So I can't answer that question.
I appreciate that, Charlie, and that's why we ask the questions we do. We want honest feedback. So I'm with you, Charlie. I don't know if you asked for anything, if you wanted the audience to do anything, Casey.
At the very end, I tagged on early beta users is what we're asking for right now.
Okay, so here's a kind of a big picture hint for the ask. I mean, if you think about the purpose of a pitch, any pitch, whether you're meeting somebody at a networking meeting or you're in front of 1,000 people at a contest or you're in an investor conference, the purpose for your pitch is to get the audience to do something. So think about that end before you begin. What do you want the audience to do? You want the audience to sign up to be a beta tester, correct?
Correct.
All right. So think about that as you develop your pitch. That's the ultimate goal. You want, if you talk to 10 people, you want 3 or 4 of them to go sign up. So your ask at the end is almost probably more important than any of the other stuff except the nailing of that problem statement. And so that's why it's so important. But most people, as you just said, I tacked on the ask at the end. The reason you're pitching is to get something, whether it's a customer, an investor, a beta user, whatever it is you're trying to get, that's the end game. And you want to think of that as you start.
Hey, Kevin, that is a piece of gold right there.
It's being recorded, so we're good.
That's a piece of gold. That's really good. And just one more comment on how long the pitch should be is I've been sort of studying this now as I've gotten into video for my blog and all that. And the standard right now is basically TikTok. And TikTok will allow you to go up to a minute on a video. Okay. But the videos that are most watched, who have the largest number of followers, are videos that are between 15 and 20 seconds in length.
Yeah.
Just think that number as opposed to Kevin's like way sort of gracious 30 seconds.
Way gracious. Yeah, we used to have someone who would come to pitch practice regularly who would tell you that the average elevator ride, and I don't know how he knew this, the average elevator ride was 18 seconds. So, okay, we'll go with 15 to 20 seconds. All right, so thank you, Charlie. I appreciate that. Who can give Casey some constructive criticism or some instructions on how he could make it better?
Just got to practice it for sure. And like the more you practice it and know like which direction you're going to head, the quicker it'll be. You had like a lot of ums in there and like pauses where you're looking to like look for the information. So that'll definitely cut back on the time. Just, as you get better at it.
Good. Thank you, Brandon.
No problem.
I'd say the same thing. Just practice, get it more succinct. But it sounds like super interesting. I just would like it to be more compact.
Yeah, I would say you're trying to explain things as part of your pitch. And what you need to get down to is, like you say, the problem that I solve is invoices get lost and digital invoices get lost in B2B transactions. Boom, that's the end. I don't need more information. I'm never going to know what you know, and I don't really know that I care about what you know. So just every piece of the pitch needs to be very succinct.
All great advice. Thanks, folks.
You're welcome. And I agree with everything that was said there. There was one point that, when you, part of what Charlie said and part of what, I can't remember the previous person who spoke, but when we're not going to know what you know. And one of the things that you did say was that invoices still get lost. So I think a simple way to kind of bring attention to that, because I would dare say that most people don't think that's possible in today's digital world. If you send a digital invoice, how's it get lost? But you can bring attention to it by saying, remember when we sent invoices via mail, they got lost all the time. Believe it or not, that still happens today. How it happens is irrelevant, but the fact that that 10% of those digital invoices get lost, that's a big deal. And so it's a simple way to bring attention to it.
Yep.
All right, anybody else with comments, questions for Casey?
I think you got something, Casey. I like it.
Well, thank you, Charlie. I do too.
Good. Keep working on it. And another thing I meant to ask you, Casey, did you write it down? Have you ever written down the words that you're going to say in your pitch?
No, I haven't. I've been going at this less than a year, but a decent amount. I've never had to do it in, less than 30 seconds. And I'll be honest with you, I have half an hour meetings that end up going 2 hours because people want to, hear what I have to say. So, and I intentionally didn't practice it before today because I wanted, to get that initial feedback and see how hard it was. It's super hard. 30 seconds, 20 seconds, that's super hard. And I will do better next week, and I'll be back next week.
Good. So I would encourage you to do two things. One, write down the actual words you want to say in the order you want to say them, and read it and see how it just flows, because different words flow off different people's lips better than others. And so you got to see how it flows off of yours. And then second, you said you have hour-long meetings that end up going 2 or 3 hours. So two questions from there. How do you get those meetings? And would you like to get more of them by giving a more succinct intro pitch?
Yeah.
Just think about that. So like Charlie said, I think you do have something here, because if you can increase the AP/AR velocity of getting paid, I think that's a revenue generator for all those small businesses who need to get paid.
Absolutely. Yep.
Good. Thank you, Casey. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right. Who's next?
I'll jump in.
Excellent. Whenever you're ready, sir.
Awesome. Hey, so I'm Bobby from Denote. Tech entrepreneurs use Denote to connect to capital and keep equity. I started Denote because not every tech business is a good fit for venture capital, but the alternatives can be highly fragmented. Not to mention, filling out loan applications can be time consuming. Tapping into personal credit isn't best practice, and online lenders focus on brick and mortar retailers. That's why our software solution is designed to algorithmically match, compare, and recommend the optimal financing option. And if you don't happen to qualify, we help you germinate into creditworthiness. So if you're in the market for capital, but don't want to give up ownership and control, go to denote.co and sign up. Thanks so much.
Mic drop. That was good.
Mic drop. That was 31 seconds.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Annie, chilling, drinking that cup of coffee. Well done. Okay. Who can tell me you didn't have the screen background this time. So what's the name of this company?
It's Denote.
Can you spell it?
Yeah. D-I-N-O-T.
No, not you. I was asking anybody else if they could spell it, but now you spoiled that. So we're good. All right. What is the problem that Denote wants to solve?
I guess it's kind of cheating because I've heard it before, but the small business inability to get access to capital.
Is that accurate?
Companies specifically.
Digital businesses that are focused on venture, we provide an alternative to venture capital. So rev share agreements and the kind of non-dilutive space is highly fragmented. So if you're looking for an alternative to venture, where do you go, right? If you're a technology business, filling out loan applications can be time consuming, tapping into best practice, right? And so we want to algorithmically match, compare, and recommend the optimal financing option.
So let me make sure I've heard your pitch a couple of times. So let me make sure I understand. So you, if I'm one of your target audiences, and we'll get to that in a minute, I'm assuming I complete some sort of form on denote.co, and then you tell me you should get a loan from this bank, you should go to this online lender, you should factor your receivables, or you should go after venture money.
That's exactly right, except we want to kind of reduce the friction a little bit more. So you don't actually fill out a loan application. You simply integrate your bank account or payment processor. And based off of that, we're able to recommend a credit line, merchant cash advance, rev share agreement, that kind of thing.
All right, but so going back to one step, the pain of this is that getting capital is difficult. Is that too broad a statement, or is there a more narrow version of that?
Well, I would say the alternatives to venture, or just if you're thinking about non-dilutive capital, it's just time consuming to find the optimal form. There's so many different options out there, super fragmented. How do you know what's the right form of capital for you? Is a line of credit the best fit for your business, or is a rev share agreement a better model? So we kind of abstract away that complexity.
Okay, good. Who can tell me who his ideal customer?
Why don't you just say that, Bobby? Is to just say that the problem is it's the small businesses are in need of capital and don't know where to go.
I like that.
That's basically it, right?
Well, yeah, for the most part, we want to focus specifically on internet businesses. So I wouldn't say small businesses, but yeah, I would agree with that. That's probably, if that wasn't clear in the pitch, that's something to modify.
Well, I think when you bring up venture capital, you can basically assume that no one gets venture capital that you're talking to. Okay. So you can write that off. That's what I'm saying. So internet businesses that are looking for, that need capital just don't know where to go.
Right.
Simple, you see?
Yep.
And why did you choose internet businesses to focus on?
Because it's the fastest growing sector in our global economy. And especially now that things are changing post-COVID, I think more businesses are started to move to an internet model. And so we see an opportunity to provide this type of business to alternative forms of financing. So if you're a brick and mortar, most of the alternative lenders in the space are already focused on those businesses. So Kabbage, On Deck, they kind of focus their marketing towards the traditional SMB, where we differentiate by focusing on a digital business.
Okay. But is it any more specific than that, or is it just, how do you define digital? So I'm trying to get to Charlie's original point here as we started with the highly, highly specific customer, ideal customer.
Yeah, so we'll drill down specifically on bootstrap SaaS founders and then expand into adjacent verticals. So right now, if you sell software specifically using Stripe as a payment processor, we want to work with you.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere. All right, good. So what did he ask for?
I just had a question.
Sure.
Why didn't you say that to start with? Why didn't you say any business, any internet business using Stripe as a processor that doesn't know where to find money? That's the problem. And that's so clear.
That is a great piece of feedback.
Yeah, because it's very much like there's a lot of businesses that call on companies that use Salesforce as their CRM, because they know they have a built-in installed base of people who could instantly install whatever it is they're doing. So if you say, and maybe Stripe's not your only avenue, but if that's if you know they're a bootstrap founder a SaaS company that uses Stripe, you've got an in, right? So it helps really, really clearly identify your best target market right off the bat.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'll definitely incorporate that.
Good. All right. What did he ask for?
Business.
Users? Yeah.
So you wanted us
Users,
to know.
business.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, we're users, business. Caesar and I were kind of saying the same thing.
Okay. And are you live? You're out of beta. You're taking real customers.
Yep.
Okay. So thinking about what I said earlier, which is what you want the audience to do at the end is what you should be going with. That makes that part that Charlie suggested all that much more important. So in your ask, you could say, if you're a bootstrap founder using Stripe as your payment processor, go to our site and sign up now because we can find you money.
Yeah, I like that closer a lot. It really drills down to the specific user that we're going after.
Yeah, and the ask, the more specific your ask, the more likely you are to get an answer. Or as they say, in the sales game, you want to get to know really fast. And if I know immediately that, okay, well, I don't use Stripe, so I'm not really a candidate, you're not going to hear from me. I'm not going to bug you with a bunch of dumb questions. But on the other hand, if I know, oh, wait a second, I'm a bootstrapped founder of a SaaS company and we use Stripe. Huh. Boom, 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 boom. I need to call this guy.
Yeah,
So
it's super, it definitely qualifies the user. So yeah, that's huge advice right there.
Right.
One other thing, Bobby, for me is, and this is something I find myself doing, is I've been told by the guys I work with, that you need to make your pitch shorter. So what I do is I talk faster, and faster doesn't work. And the way you talk now in this conversation is the speed at which you need to talk and get your pitch within 20 seconds at this speed, not take 40 seconds and bring it down to 20 seconds with the same amount of content. People can't listen that fast.
Yeah, in the past few weeks, we've had Bobby do his pitch, and that's a common statement, Charlie, is that Bobby's pace is pretty quick. But I think, Bobby, you do well to keep in mind what Charlie said, which I haven't heard. People can't listen that fast. I've never would have thought about that, but it's probably pretty true. So if there's a way you can slow down, I know your normal pace of talk is quick, but that's why we practice. So.
Take it for what it or.
All right, good. Any other suggestions or comments or questions for Bobby and Denote?
I appreciate that you made it the language a little more casual and slowed it down. I think you got a lot of the same information that you got across last time with fewer words. And I do like that you kind of I forget the first sentence, but it was very easy to understand. I think the feedback earlier was right on point about skipping past venture capital and just moving to it's hard to find lending options and to vet them out. I think that goes a little bit to some of the feedback that we were providing last week, because that would be one less thing that you would have to explain in your pitch, and just go straight to the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to rip that piece out now. That's good advice.
I would drop anything, Bobby, that has to do with venture capital, because what is it, like 1 in 1,000 companies get venture funding or something. So you just forget about it. If a guy can get venture funding, he's not really get venture honey. You're not interesting. Okay. He can find money.
Yep.
Good. Who else has questions or comments or suggestions for Bobby? All righty. Thank you very much, Bobby. We appreciate it. Getting better every week.
Thank you.
Who's going next?
I'll go, Trellis.
Excellent.
All right. I just timed it a little bit ago and it wasn't 30 seconds, but let's see what we can do. Let me know when you're ready.
Fast from your picture. What happened?
You ready? Let me know when you're ready, Kevin.
Anytime. Go ahead.
All right. Hi, my name is Trellis Usher. I'm founder and CEO of Nova Health Labs, an enterprise software company focused on the healthcare vertical. At the urging of some really good friends in the summer of 2014, I went to have a mammogram done. And within 30 days of receiving my very first mammogram, I heard the words, "You have breast cancer." Over the course of my care journey, I witnessed firsthand how overwhelmed care teams are with the volume of incoming calls and voicemails that they receive on a daily basis. Our product automatically transcribes and triages incoming voicemails so that care providers know who to call back first, second, or third. Right now, we're building our team, and so we're looking for a back-end developer and a good UX designer to help us get our product to market. We're working hard to get our product to market because cancer care shouldn't be first in, first out. Thank you.
And thank you. How long do you think that was?
About 38 seconds, 38 to 42 seconds.
38 to 42. Nice range. Well, remember what I told Casey earlier. It's always longer than you think. So that was 47 seconds, almost 48.
Oh, God. Yeah, okay.
That's all right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask some different questions. Did anybody get the name of her company?
Nova Health Labs.
It's Nova?
Yes.
What's the full long name?
Nova Health Labs. Yeah, a couple
Nova
folks said it. Yeah.
Good. Okay. What is the problem that Nova wants to solve?
She wants to help call centers call support centers for newly diagnosed cancer victims, and wants to prioritize the calls to know who to call first, second, or third.
Good. So that's a really great explanation of her solution, what she aims to do. But what is the pain?
It's hard to follow up with patients that you're triaging for healthcare providers.
I think you're close, Caesar, but I think that's, Trellis, I think you've got it, it's narrower than that, more specific than that, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. The problem is that they don't know they're not able, voicemails don't provide an automatic sort of triage. So they don't know who to call back first, second, or third without first listening to them. So, because voicemail is sort of first in, first out. So the problem is they're overwhelmed with calls and they have no way to prioritize all of these messages, these voicemails.
And the reason that you're bringing attention to that is because it's right now it's first in, first out. But if I'm calling, I just may have a simple question versus I've got a severe complication.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. But all the calls go to the same place, right?
That's right. In the same order, in the first in, first out order. And so, yeah.
Okay. So if I call last, I've got a serious complication, then I may wait too long.
That's right. Because the only way they can listen to the voicemails is to listen to them in the sequence that they came in. And somebody is having to physically sit there and listen to them all, transcribe them all, and then figure out who to call back first, second, and third. And our product will automatically transcribe and triage so that we give them a recommended callback sequence, which may be the more sort of just naturally intuitive way to think about it. So I maybe should say it that way, that our product automatically transcribes and triages every incoming voicemail and provides a recommended callback sequence, period.
Good. All right. So who is her customer? Who is going to pay her money?
Healthcare.
Healthcare providers.
We're specifically focused in the cancer care space initially, but yeah, ultimately we want to expand across all of healthcare, but providers.
So initially it's oncologist offices, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or networks of practices.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And what did she ask for?
Looking for UX help or development help.
Yeah.
Candace, I can barely hear you. I don't know if I'm the only one, but if you could turn up your mic, that'd be great.
Is this better?
Slightly.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with this. I said UX help or development help.
Okay.
Yeah.
So which one of those, Trellis, which one of those do you need more?
I really need the back-end developer better, more so who's worked on telephony related projects.
Yeah.
But I couldn't sort of get all that in and still be under a minute. And thanks to Caesar, because he provided me some information from last time I was here, but we're still looking for that resource. So that's still why I'm asking.
Yeah. So I would stick to one.
Okay.
It's kind of like, I don't know if you're familiar with this guy named Dave Ramsey, who teaches a way to get out of debt and grow wealth. But he makes these 7 baby steps, and you don't move on from one until you nail that, complete that baby step. And so this is kind of the same thought process. We need a back-end developer, and you ask for that to everybody until you get it, and then move on to the next thing that you need, which is maybe a UX.
Yeah.
So ask for one. And the other reason I say this, because if you ask me for 2 things, I'm going to forget one of them.
Okay.
And I don't know which one that's going to be, and neither do you.
Got it. Yep. Makes sense.
Focus on one thing and ask for that one thing. All right. How can Trellis make her pitch better? Suggestions.
My suggestion is, first of all, Trellis, I'm sorry that you were diagnosed with breast cancer. It's awful. I hope things are going
I'm better now, so yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
But I've been diagnosed with cancer too, like that, and I know those first few moments, those first few really weeks.
Yeah.
So, so although that's an interesting part of what your pitch is what your business is about, it shouldn't be a part of your pitch. So your story needs to be left out of your pitch, because you just don't have time for it. If people connect with it, they'll ask, why is this important to you? And then you can give them your story, which is going to make it, that'll sort of make it 3D. But the real problem that you solve is that people newly diagnosed with cancer can't get support fast enough. That's really the problem.
Yeah, yes. So, there's a school of thought that says the story, the compelling piece of it up front is really more what kind of sucks a person in and makes them want to listen. And also at the same time sort of establishes you as a person who knows something about this problem. But I guess when we're thinking about sort of the Kevin, this question's for you. When we think about sort of, you know, the 20-second or 30-second versus the 3-minute versus the 5-minute, it's figuring out, you know, I guess where the story best belongs, like in which one of those pitches. Because if I've only got 18 seconds with somebody on an elevator, yeah, I may not be able to get into, you know, why this is personal for me. So I think it's just kind of figuring out which pieces go with which pieces of the pitch. But yeah, thanks, Charlie. I hear you. And that's kind of been, you know, my story has lengthened and shortened over time, just, you know, given feedback from other folks on the team. So I'll definitely keep that in mind.
So I'm going to be diplomatic and go right down the middle.
Okay.
I think that you're giving some version of your story gives you instant credibility.
Mhm.
And but in your 30-second pitch, you just have to keep it short. Or if it's an 18-second pitch, you got to keep it real short. So you could open with, I had breast cancer, scariest moments of my life. And when I called, I never got an answer.
Yeah.
Boom. That's, you know, 4 seconds.
That's
Yeah.
excellent. That is excellent. I like
It's you don't have to tell the whole story.
Right.
You know, I think you'll be given an opportunity in front of an audience to tell the whole story and get into some nitty gritty details about, you know, you called, you left a message at 10:45 a.m. and you got a call back at 5 p.m. the next day or something like that.
Yeah.
And you explain and bring context to that pain. But the fact that you have lived through this problem demonstrates big credibility in your understanding and empathy with those who need the problem solved the most.
Right.
But that said, you can keep it real short.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, Trellis, I know you're working with a few iterations of the pitch. I will say, you know, this particular version is well crafted in terms of the placement of certain keywords. I understood more of your solution with clarity this time around, very succinct when you mentioned transcribe and triage, as opposed to kind of going into you know, the robust
AI and and machine learning and all that stuff. Yeah.
So I would say keep this version of that, but everything else seemed really, really good.
Thank you.
Very good. Who else has some feedback? All right, then we will move along. Thank you so much, Trellis. Well done. You get better every week.
Thanks, Kevin.
Who's going next?
Hey, Kevin, this is Charlie. I have to jump off now, but to all of you, you know, you're doing the hardest thing in the world, and I have such great respect for you all, and I wish you all a happy Easter. So
Thank you, Charlie.
Charlie.
Happy Easter to you too.
thank you, Kevin, for all that you're doing for our community.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
sir. It's my pleasure. All right. Is anybody else going to practice their pitch today? Very good. Well, and then I'll say the same things that Charlie did. Thank you so much for everybody coming and showing up on our virtual pitch practice. We will be here same time, same place next week. I wish you all a wonderful, happy Easter, and I hope that you're all safe and healthy.
Take
Bye,
care.
everybody.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Okay.
Bye.